All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the District 1 State Capital Infrastructure Programs Applicant Workshop. I know we're still waiting for a couple more people, but I have started recording and we're holding this workshop by Zoom this year because of the public health crisis. So appreciate your patience on this platform. My name is Allison Ball. I'm the District 1 liaison and a planner at Cuyahoga County Planning Commission. So, and I'm co-hosting this meeting this morning with Jen Klein. Jen, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Klein. I am the program rep at Ohio Public Works for District 1. This is my second year with District 1, but I've been at OPWC for 6 years now.
All right, so we're gonna get started. Some people are still gonna be in. Again, like most of these online meetings, please keep your mic on mute for your best sound quality. And if you have a question, use the chat feature. As we're presenting, we'll check in on that. And then there's a great opportunity for question and answer at the end of the period. And then we will also be recording this, and we'll put the PowerPoint presentation up on our website after the meeting. So with that, let's share the screen. Where? Okay, let's do that. Back, whoops. Great, and get started. Okay, so welcome to the District 1 Public Works Integrating Committee State Infrastructure Programs. This is the second of 2 workshops. Today, we're going to do an overview of the state capital infrastructure programs, all the programs that are under OPWC. Then we'll talk specifically about District 1 Public Works Integrating Committee, and then the funding and eligibility. Then we're going to get into the details of fiscal year 2022. And for those of you who have been applying to this program for many years now, this is round 35. The current program project agreements that were released were for program year 34, or round 34. We called it program year 2020. So it might seem like we haven't skipped a year, but we haven't. We're just rolling along. OPWC, Ohio Public Works Commission, is changing their nomenclature, and we just want to be consistent with OPWC. So we'll talk about the program changes for FY 2022. We'll review the application materials. I'll explain the project evaluation and selection, and the small government and emergency programs will be explained on how to get funding for that. And then again, like I said, there'll be time for question and answer after. Jen?
Yes, this is a screenshot of Ohio Public Works website. This is our homepage. We updated it this last year to be more user-friendly. We appreciate any feedback that you might have. If you are looking on it and don't know where to find something, well, I would really appreciate that feedback, and we can, try to adjust and make it easier for people to use. We've also installed a email newsletter. If you go to that homepage of our website, you can sign up for our newsletter, which has been very helpful during this pandemic time when we've been teleworking and needing to get the most recent information out to all of our customers. So you can sign up for infrastructure newsletters or Clean Ohio newsletters, or both of them. So we highly encourage all of our applicants to sign up for that to get the latest newsletters from us. So general overview of what Public Works, we have 2 different umbrellas of funding for infrastructure. We have the first is the State Capital Improvement Program, or SCIP funding. These are loans, or a combination of both. It comes from the general obligation bonds. And these funds are appropriated by the state legislators in the capital bill. Underneath that umbrella is the revolving loan program, our RLP funds. So all of the SCIP loans that have been released in the past 34 rounds and that are starting to be repaid by all the applicants, all of those loaners have added up into a revolving loan program fund. So we have additional loan money to give out to District 1, and it stays within District 1. So all of the District 1 SCIP loans that have been dispersed in the past 30 years, all those payments coming back stay with District 1 in District 1's revolving loan program. And the second umbrella of funding is the Local Transportation Improvement Program, or LTIP funds. These are grants only fund road and bridge projects. And with that, everyone hopefully got an understanding of how our funds are appropriated this year. So the LTIP funds are in the transportation budget from the state legislators, and the SCIP funds are in the capital bill from the state legislators. And so the way the state legislators works in the state with its budget, it's on a biennium budget. And so one year the legislators will approve a capital bill, and then the following year the transportation bill. They're on opposite years from each other. And so in this current year of 2020, a capital bill was supposed to be passed in March, and that would have included SCIP funding for 2020 and 2021. The pandemic hit, and so a capital bill was not normally passed in March, as it historically has been. And so that's why there was a slight delay in round 34's project agreements going out, is because those SCIP money from the capital bill was not appropriated until June, July. But the LTIP money was in the transportation budget, which was passed in 2019. And so that's why those funds were available in July of 2020. So going forward, we're going about round 35, or fiscal year 22, we're calling it. So projects that you will be applying for this fall, the state legislators still have not appropriated those funds yet. So we're doing the same thing that we did last year and that we do every 2 years, is we ask our districts to solicit applications and get a slate of projects approved, and then the state legislators appropriate those funds and we can release them July 1st if a schedule goes according to normal. Next slide. So under that SCIP funding umbrella are two groups of funds that get taken off the top, is our small government fund and our emergency program. Small government is for townships and villages with a population of 5,000 or less. It's our second chance program. You still have to apply to your district, not get funded by your district, and then the district sends a handful of eligible small government applications to Columbus for our small government administrator to review with the SUBMITTAL methodology and compete for funds in that program. And then we also have an emergency program, which is not applied for through your district. You apply directly to me, your program rep, and applied for anytime throughout. And we'll get into more of those details towards the end of the program.
All right, so moving on to District 1, there's 19 districts throughout the state. Each district has their own Public Works Integrating Committee. Cuyahoga County is District 1, and as you can see from the map, it is one of several just single county districts. So we just have the 59 communities in Cuyahoga County and some other subdivisions competing for the funds here. So our District 1 Public Works Integrating Committee is made up with 2 representatives from Cuyahoga County, 2 representatives from the most populous municipality in Cuyahoga County, and 2 representatives representing the suburban communities, and those 2 are selected from the Cuyahoga County Mayors and City Managers Association, and a private sector representative that is nominated from the private sector and then voted on by the other DOPWIC members. Again, this committee makeup is all mandated in the Ohio Revised Code. Everything we do goes back to the Ohio Revised Code. So this year we have money, the allocation set aside. There was, and Jennifer will speak to this maybe a little bit later, but there was a little bump up in the state capital improvement program funding allocation. So we have $16,689,200 for SCIP grants and $1,859,300 for the mandated loan for fiscal year 2022. In the revolving loan program, we have about $3.3 million. And the local transportation improvement program, which Jen described as being funded by the gas tax, is at $6.3 million, a little over that. The figures are all there. Again, these are just the best estimates. And so we have approximately $28,212,000 for infrastructure projects this year. So for eligibility, they're counties, cities, villages, townships, sanitary districts, regional water and sewer districts. To be considered a regional water and sewer district and to be able to get a subdivision code, all applicants need a subdivision code, and all the municipalities in Cuyahoga County already have one. But for regional water and sewer districts, you must organize in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, section 6117 or 6119 in order to receive that subdivision code. The projects funded under all the SCIP programs include roads, bridges, and culverts, sewers, both sanitary and storm, water, both supply and distribution, wastewater treatment, and solid waste disposal. So for the local transportation improvement program, because it is from the gasoline tax, the applicants are only counties, cities, villages, and townships, so basically the municipalities, and the only projects that will get funded through this program are the roads, bridges, and culverts. All the applications are the same, regardless if it's SCIP or LTIP. There's only one difference this year, and we'll discuss that as we get into the meat of fiscal year 2022. So SCIP financial assistance, the grants will pay for repair and replacement projects up to 90%. New and expansion projects are only paid up to 50%. And again, for those of you that are going to be looking at small government, the new and expansion projects are not quite the same as it is at the district level, so District 1 level. If you are replacing septic tanks in District 1, at the District 1 DOPWIC level, that is considered a repair and replace project. However, at the state small government program, replacing septic is a new and expansion project. So keep that in mind when you're looking at your finances and how much you need to ask for between those 2 programs. Loans, 0% interest. The terms can't exceed the weighted useful life, and it's 1 to 30 years. This is a great deal, and so don't discount that. I wish my mortgage was that great. So debt support programs. The SCIP funds will also support loan assistance that offers grant funding to pay for the interest on eligible construction projects. And then there's also credit enhancement that offers a one-time infusion of funds to enhance an applicant's ability to secure affordable debt. One thing to keep in mind, if you are applying for loan assistance for a project that was already started, that we will evaluate that application on the pre-construction condition and the pre-construction of that project. Again, you have to pretend that you hadn't fixed it yet and you're asking for that money to begin with, so we can compare it to the rest of the projects. So the SCIP and LTIP eligible costs, what OPWC will pay for, includes the acquisition of right-of-way and or easements, engineering and design. And again, there is a little bit of a change this year. OPWC will no longer fund projects that are solely engineering and design. So in the past, they could have done phase 1, phase 2, but that's not going to be accepted anymore. OPWC will also pay for construction, equipment, related financing costs, including permits, advertising, and legal. And again, just remember, don't apply for an engineering and design project only. That will be turned away. So this brings us to the fiscal year 2022. It is round 35, and we'll let Jen tell you what's new besides that engineering and design concept. Go ahead.
Yes, so we're referring to them as fiscal years now instead of rounds or program years. We wanted to just get on a consistent nomenclature with, the state, what state fiscal year is it? And so, looking back, I don't know what year round 28 was off the top of my head. I would need to, count my fingers and look back to see what actual year that was. And so if we just start calling them the fiscal year, you can remember what year the work was actually done or what year that work was approved for. The next new thing is applications are going to be required to be submitted electronically. OPWC is working on a online portal. It is not ready yet. You're not going to be submitting in the portal this round. We're hoping next round applications will be submitted in the portal. And our goal is applications and disbursements and everything that OPWC does will be on this online portal. We are still in the testing phase of that. So this year, Allison will get into the details of where you submit it electronically, but she is getting you prepared to submit all your files electronically. With the loan assistance, what a loan assistance has not changed. It is still a grant that can pay for interest of an outside loan during the construction period of your project, but it used to only be a 1-year look back. From when you get your project agreement, we would go back 1 year to pay interest. We have extended that to a 3-year look back now. So yes, if you have an outside loan with interest, you can apply for a grant to pay for that interest during the construction period. We have also redefined what we consider construction. With all OPWC projects, construction must be scheduled to start within 1 year from your release of your project agreement. So we have expanded the definition of construction to include some off-site prefabrication. So for example, we had a big box culvert that was being prefabricated off-site. It was going to take 4 months. And so the applicant wanted to say that they were starting construction within the 1 year like they were supposed to. But typically we want shovels in the ground at the site has what construction has been defined as. So we, to accommodate our customers and help with construction schedules and to put less of a burden on the community, that in this example, this bridge was being replaced, we are now expanding that definition of construction to prefabrication offsite can count as construction. And the last bullet there is not anything new, just a reminder about schedules like I was just talking about. For this year specifically, construction will need to be started by June of 2022 if your project is approved for this round.
Great, thanks, Jen. So the application submittal, you must submit one full digital copy via the file sharing program Dropbox. And this is pretty important. We get over 60 applications a year generally. That's a lot of applications. We're taking them electronically this year, and so we want consistency in how they are submitted. If you're using another file sharing program and it ends up in a junk folder, or I don't know where to look for it, this could hurt your chances. So if we keep everything consistent, this is going to be really helpful for us. And again, because of the sheer numbers, the volume, and the size of these applications, we're pretty insistent upon some just basic organization in these, and it doesn't just help the evaluation, it helps you in making your case for these project applications. So I'm going to go over that. So the first thing you have is your OPWC infrastructure application, and here's the link to that. And then there is an application supplement that will allow you to give more information, and it will be evaluated at the district level and in accordance with the district methodology. And then supporting documentation. This supporting documentation is so important. Prove your case. So, and the way that you will submit that is having the OPWC application first, and then the application supplement, and then all the other attachments separated by cover page for authorizations and resolutions of support, agreements and letters of support, engineer estimates, certifications, plans, supporting documentation and data for road, bridges, and culverts, supporting documentation and data for sewer, septic, water, wastewater, maps and photos, and your small government checklist if you are a small government community and you want your application also evaluated for the small government submission. One thing I do want to come back to, one full digital copy. Even though we're asking for the attachments to be separated by a cover page, that's so when we say, oh, look at this, there, the local match is for, you know, a certain amount of money, we can go to the certifications and look for that CFO certification and to make sure that that match equals the local match. It just creates a lot of ease in finding the different things that need to be reviewed in order to fully evaluate this. So we've gotten it with the PDF in sections. And that would mean, especially in this year of virtual meetings, that we have to stop sharing and look at something else and reopen and reopen. So this will be really helpful following this protocol. And then Jen can talk to you about the first one, which is the OPWC application.
Yes, I'm going to share my screen.
Great.
And go to, there we go. You can see that, right?
I got it. I don't know where got it.
So yes, this is the OPWC webpage that we talked about before. So if you scroll down, here's where you can sign up for those email notifications. But across the top, if you go to programs and infrastructure, program infrastructure application is where you will find the OPWC infrastructure application. There's instructions right here, as well as the application form, as well as all of the templates that OPWC requires. So we'll go into the form. So this has not changed. We still ask for your basic applicant information, your contact information and email of who I should contact if I have any questions about this application when I receive it, your project name, your subdivision type, your project type, based on the single largest component by dollar amount. And then on page 2 is where you fill in your financial information, all your engineering services, right-of-way construction, permits. And so this is a fillable PDF. So you can type in and it will add up for you, so you don't need to be doing the math. And then on the bottom, you say what the financial resources are, how much grant you're asking for, how much loan you're asking for, where is your local share coming from? Is it local revenues? Is it an ODOT project? Does it have CDBG funding? And it'll let you know that yes, your total financial resources match your total estimated cost. If I didn't make those equal, you'll get this red error to let you know that something is not right. Your resources and costs are not adding up. And then on the next page is where you fill in your repair replace, or is it new expansion, with a dollar amount. So you know how much funds you're eligible to apply for. Remember, repair replace can fund up to 90%, new expansion can fund up to 50%. Then you fill in your project schedule. The most important thing about the project schedule is the construction dates. So again, we want this beginning construction date to be by June of 2022 for this year. And we will check this when we get the application. If this construction schedule date is not within our time frame, we will not release a program or a project agreement for it. And also, if your project has ODOT funding, we will check the ODOT Ellis site to see what their sale date is to make sure that it is within the OPWC required schedule timeline. And then some basic project information. This, with Allison and the supplement, you'll provide much more detailed information about the ADT and all of these things and your useful life. And so this is just an overview to quickly see what the useful life is, and you know, what, if it's a water wastewater project, what these rates are. But this, in general, the OPWC application is not how you get scored. That's what the application supplement is for, and that's when you provide more of the detail. On the next page is the location, components, and dimensions. So everything that you write on this page is what gets put in your project agreement, your Appendix A, project description. So give a brief and concise description of your location and your components. We don't just want you to copy and paste the engineer's estimate into the components. You know, we want a narrative of what is happening in the project, because again, whatever you put in here is what gets put in your project agreement and that legal document. And then the next page is your project officials. There's 3 project officials: a CEO, CFO, and project manager. The only thing to be aware of is the CEO and CFO are not allowed to be the same person. Your CEO and project manager are allowed to be the same person. So you need at least 2 people to be signing off on this project, but it can be up to 3. And then the final page is where your CEO will sign the application. And then we have this completeness check review of the additional attachments that OPWC requires. The first is a certified copy of the legislation that authorizes your project CEO to apply for our funding and to enter into agreement with OPWC if you are approved. You will need your CFO certification of funds. Whatever your local share is, your CFO needs to certify that, or show if it's an outside funding source of another grant, you show that that has been secured. If you're requesting a loan, the CFO needs to certify that that loan amount will be repaid over X amount of years. You will need your engineer's estimate signed and stamped. Cooperative agreement, if you're working with another entity and they have some fiscal or administrative responsibilities, include that cooperative agreement. The farmland preservation review, you can ignore that. District 1 doesn't have any projects that need that. And also the CIR, District 1 no longer requires the CIR, so these two don't apply to District 1. And then all the supporting documentation will be what you'll need in the applicant supplement to get points in the methodology. Allison.
We have a question here.
Yes.
What do you recommend that a city does if an agency such as ODOT or the county has a sale date for a project with a construction start date that will be before July 1st, and they are not able to, for whatever reason, move the sale start date that would allow an applicant to not lose their ability to access the funds from OPWC?
Yes.
Will OPWC contact ODOT on behalf of the applicant enough in advance to have the project schedule moved? It's a long question. What if ODOT says they are not able to change the date, and does the successful applicant then lose the funds they were tentatively awarded?
Yes, excellent question. We've seen this a handful of times, multiple times with ODOT, that typically the most often thing we see is a sale date in the last quarter of the fiscal year before you're supposed to start funding. So in May or June of for this specific round, I'm gonna give out specific dates. So for this round, your project will be released July 1st of 2021. And if your sale date with ODOT is in May or June of 2021, that is too early to start construction. And when I get your project agreement and I check Ellis and I see that sale date is before July 1st of 2021, I will start with contacting the applicant to see if they have contacted ODOT to try to get that date moved. But then, yes, we will also reach out to ODOT to let them know that there is OPWC funding and that date needs to be moved back to July 1st. And so typically if it's in that last quarter, then ODOT can accommodate that and move that sale date to after July 1st, because we've been working with ODOT for many years and they know our funding restrictions, and so they can help accommodate that with the applicant to move that sale date. If it really can't be moved, and I don't know if I've had that recently, that ODOT hasn't moved it to after July, but yeah, we cannot have construction start before our project agreements are released on July 1st. So yes, we work closely with ODOT to make it work, because they understand our restrictions. So hopefully that answers your question.
Great.
Back to OPWC's website. Again, I said that here are the templates for an authorizing legislation, the CFO letter, a cooperative agreement, a useful life statement for the engineers if they need a template for that. And that is everything you'll need for the OPWC application. So I will stop sharing and let Allison get into the supplement.
All right, so got to get back. Where were we? the supplement. Oh, you know what? Before we do that, stop share. So share, just like Jen, I just want to go to our website and show you, especially for the OPWC programs, they are under grant programs, which is under services. It is a little bit of a maze to get there, but once you get there, all the information, all the links. So you start with the state infrastructure programs. It's the first one. We have a nice crumbling bridge to show you where to click. And so here you go. You go to the program year, and then all the application forms are up here for you. There is the applicant manual, which is what I'm gonna go through next in great detail. And again, when I'll point out certain page numbers where everything is, but you know, as you're filling this out, you know, keep referring to this. What are they looking for? How is this being evaluated? Make this your guide for filling out that application. So that's an important document right there. The policy manual, again, it kind of re-emphasizes the DOPWIC policies that are in line with the OPWC policies about construction schedules, underruns, overruns, etc. So, and then here are your 2 application supplements. These are fillable PDFs. So again, you can, I'm not going to click on that. But you can fill these out. The circle buttons are radio buttons. It means you can only do one. Check boxes, you can do more than one. One thing, again, I've copied most of this for you, but the one page that didn't fit really nicely onto the PowerPoint screen is this page. So keep this in mind when we get to that PowerPoint screen. So, but I'm going to walk you through the documents in PowerPoint, unlike Jen, because we have examples and just some notes on that. So, oops, I can't just pull that up. I have to stop share and then share again. I'm telling you, by the time I get to be an expert at Zoom, we will be meeting in person again. So there you go. So there, is it working? There it is. Whoops. So again, here's where you're going to find all those documents on our website, and as the program year goes on, we'll be adding to that website. And so here it is, the methodology, criteria, and evaluation points. So this, for those of you that applied last year, the criteria are the same. You are evaluated on 12 criteria. These criteria really match up with the Ohio Revised Code, section 164.06 for the SCIP program, and Ohio Revised Code, section 164.14 for the LTIP. Public Works integrating committees must consider 10 different factors in both of these mandates when evaluating projects for funding. So as we go through the different criteria, I also list the Ohio Revised Code sections and factors that the criteria meets up with. So one thing I do want to point out on here is the infrastructure condition and health and safety needs at 22.5% and 27.5%. This is really where you have to state your case for your project. So the primary infrastructure is the first part of the application process. You have to determine what is the infrastructure improvement that is driving your project. So, and this is different from the infrastructure type that you check in the Ohio Public Works Commission application. That is based on the highest financial component, whereas this is what is driving the project. Because again, this is primary infrastructure. We're also going to ask you what your secondary infrastructure is. Oftentimes, road project will include work on the water lines or sewer lines. And obviously, if you're doing a water project and you have to dig into the street, you're going to have to repave the street. So what is the issue that is driving the need for this project? So, and again, don't worry about what the highest financial component is. That will be your project type, and that's more for OPWC to determine which level of funding or which pot of funding you can get that from. So, and you will submit one DOPWIC application supplement. There's one for road, bridges, and culverts, and one for sewer, septic, wastewater, and water. And you will only submit one. And then if you are working on other infrastructure components, please check them off. So, and next is the project description. Again, Jen showed you where you have an opportunity to describe your project in the OPWC application and put the location in. This is and it's a little bit redundant, but not too much, because whereas you couldn't use maps before, we definitely want to see clearly delineated maps. We're going to ask you again in the project location to list the road segments or address and the limits of the project in a table form, so it can be exported to Excel and then GIS, so that we can map the project for a number of reasons, whether it's for us to go out and field verify the project components, or if it's to map and show the awards that were made, or even show how many people applied. You can also see that we have a key for the different types of projects. So you can see this is one from fiscal year 2018. I actually think it might, yeah, 2018 fiscal year. That would have been fiscal year 2019, program year 2018. But you have water projects, water treatment, sewer projects. So again, there is a variety of funding that gets awarded every year. We're also going to ask you for the description. And again, here on the PowerPoint is where you can see the ORC factors that we're looking at and considering in this section. And in that applicant manual, it is under the descriptions of what we're looking for. And again, why we ask you again to describe the existing infrastructure and the proposed changes is the OPWC only gives you 1,000 characters. We're giving you a space and to provide more information. The existing infrastructure, so you should be describing in detail what needs to be improved and why. And the proposed changes described how the proposed improvements will eliminate the problems caused or cited in the existing condition. So this is pretty important. This should definitely address what's going on up here. And for a lot of these, not just the project description, I've taken examples from successful applications to share with you. The next thing that we're looking at, and this is new for the application supplement, is the engineer's plan status certification. So, and again, this meets the ORC 164.06 and 164.14, so it's required for both SCIP and LTIP. And this will demonstrate a better, the adequacy of planning and the readiness to proceed. So, and this is important in that the feedback that we got from OPWC, we had been looking at the project schedules, and the project schedules, as you could see, changing ODOT sale rates or dates, that the schedules are subject to change. But here we can see where you definitely are. For those of you familiar with the small government program, this does not have any points associated with it whatsoever. So it will not affect or impact your score, but we will take it into consideration. So now, somebody raised their hand.
Yeah, Allison, yeah, this is Eva Vargas with the City of Cleveland.
Yes.
Yeah, a question on, because a lot of our projects, you know, like we have estimated dates. So the concern is to, you know, from in our case, like we don't really have committed dates for surveying, right away, preliminary design, you know, but we have all those things on track because we're preparing to get ready for construction in the program year that's needed. So, so we're concerned on how this will be viewed because all our dates are going to be estimated completion dates, not really actual dates. You know, our intention is to start design. We have a 10-month design period. So we are on track to have everything and done for the program year, but the schedule is really hard to certify because the dates aren't really given.
So this question came up last year. So, yesterday. Hold on, stop share. And so I want to show you an example. So this is from the small government. Again, I crossed out the points for today, so because there are no points associated with it. So this is the completion date. And again, OPWC understands that this is subject to change. So in the small government program, if it is completed, then there are points associated with it. This was filled out in September. And if it's not completed, then they know that this is an estimate. They're not going to hold you to it. And again, there's no points associated with it. So it's just general information. And we're taking it into consideration as mandated by the Ohio Revised Code.
So as long as our schedule shows that completion will be within the program year, then no, I mean, nothing would be, I guess the way it was said, you know, the met completion dates for items A through C, it almost seemed like if we didn't have that checked off, then it wouldn't, you know, then it might be held against us.
No.
No, okay. Okay, thanks, Allison.
No, it's just, have you met them? It's just a question.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Allison.
Great. Thank you. All right. So, oh, you know what? You're not seeing this, are you? I am not sharing the screen right.
Not yet.
I have to get back to Zoom. I told you guys, thank you for your patience. Share screen. DOPWIC, share. You got this now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we were there and let me go back. So we were at the engineer plan status, thanks. So the other thing about the engineer plan status is no other documents are necessary. So if you clicked yes or preliminary design, you don't need to share those. That does not need to be included in the supporting documentation. So the next thing in the project description, again, this is just, again, for consideration in the project description. And this, whoops. Okay, thank you. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy. So the project description, we're looking in the road, bridge, and culvert application supplement only for your 2-year maintenance of effort. This form may look somewhat familiar because it has been adapted from the capital improvement reports that were required until last year. But instead of looking forward 5 years as well, we're just looking at the last 2 years of funding. This meets the ability to pay and the history of investing in road and bridge projects. And so that's all you have to do. Again, if you're thinking of your whole infrastructure 5-year plan, we don't need to know about like your park improvements or water and sewer. This is just in regards to road and bridge projects. And again, this form is only in the local transportation, I'm sorry, only in the road, bridge, and culvert supplement. So, any other questions about that? Wait, is there a chat? Do you see anything in the chat, Jen? I do not. Okay. So moving on to users, we're looking at who is using the infrastructure that needs to be improved. And again, this meets several factors in the Ohio Revised Code. For road, bridges, and culverts, we are looking for the average daily traffic. And again, we want to know the count year. Believe it or not, we've had applications come across the desk and evaluation with a count year for 10 years or 15 years ago, 1996 or something. Please make sure it's a recent count year and list your count source. There's a number of ways you can get that. I'll get into that in the next couple slides. For the sewer, septic, water, and wastewater, we are looking at the direct number of households tied into that infrastructure. If there is a report, the year, and the count source, or again, it might just be a map or drawing with the parcels. And again, the number of indirect users, we recognize that again, if it's a water line, that it might not just be the households, it could be an institutional building, a commercial lot. So again, who's going there, how many indirect people are benefiting from that infrastructure. In order to get that points for that count, maps and or drawings must be provided clearly identifying and delineating the indirect users. We will evaluate that very thoroughly, I should say, not fairly. So again, for road, bridges, and culverts, if you're not doing your own counts, the Transportation Information Management System on ODOT will do, you can see here is from the city of Maple Heights, and there's their ADT. And again, they take that and the report and add some information to clearly show what the ADT is on their section. And again, here is a project with showing the sewer lines and where they're tied in, and all the parcels that might be included as their indirect users. So the points are based on the primary infrastructure. One thing I didn't mention before, and it's very common, is to have coordinating infrastructure projects. Your points are going to be accrued based on the primary infrastructure. So even though you might be doing road and water, if the road is the main reason that you're going to be fixing the infrastructure, and you're just going to improve the water lines because you already have the road dug up, then use the ADT and use the road, bridge, and culvert supplement. Again, if the water line is the reason that you have to dig up the road, then use that. One thing that you can do in your supporting documentation is you can include the secondary infrastructure supplement if you want to provide us all the information about why both need to be reviewed, and that will be taken, or I'm sorry, why both infrastructures need to be improved, but we will take the second into consideration. But remember that you're only being scored on the primary infrastructure. Infrastructure age. So again, it's one of the factors mandated. The original construction year is can be given if it hasn't been fixed since then, and you'll need to provide the proof of age, or provide the year of last major improvements. And I believe that to get a description of that, that is included starting on page 13 of the application supplement. The example that I can give you, if you have a road project and you resurface the road, if the resurfacing was just a 2-inch mill and fill, that would be considered a minor improvement. Anything 3 inches or above is considered a major. Eva, I did see your hand raised. Why don't you type your question in the chat or on?
Yes, so, sorry. Yeah, just going back to the 2-year maintenance form. Tom had a question in the chat box.
Okay. I can't, for some reason. Jen, can you see that question?
Yes, it's just whether the form needs to be filled in for each project, or can it be done once and in a different format? Do we have to use this exact format, and does each individual project have to be listed?
You know, because each community might submit more than one application, but let's say 1 of 2 projects gets recommended for funding, that's going to need to be in there to show OPWC that you meet the ORC. So just copy and paste and do it for each application. Again, each application is evaluated on its own. So we're not going to be like, where's that form? Again, if you want something to be seen, you want to show you're in compliance, put it in the application.
Okay. Thanks.
We have over 60 applications, and you know, when you start allowing one community to do something different and another to do something different, things get lost in the shuffle. So, was there any questions on infrastructure age? The points are based on the original construction year or the year of the last major improvement. Again, this depends on the useful life as determined on this is, again, these points are all described in the evaluation and point section of the applicant manual. So, and the maximum points you can get in this is 17 points. So the next section is infrastructure condition. So, and this criteria, again, this is one of those high point earners. So the condition is based on the amount of deterioration within the defined project limits. And you should provide supporting evidence or rationale for this. So again, this is, you check one of these, closed or not operating, imminent failure, critical, poor, fair, and then you know, provide some supporting documentation. So condition documents for bridges and culverts that would include a general appraisal, the rating, the source, and again, the source can be in the supporting documentation, or the actual report can be in the supporting documentation. For roads, we're looking at the pavement condition rating. So, and then for sanitaries, sewers and laterals, the number of sewer line breaks or flooding events. For septic systems, have the Cuyahoga County Board of Health do their inspection and they rate it. Their storm sewer, again, we're looking at line breaks, inflow and infiltration or flooding events, the number of NPDES violations in the previous 10 years for wastewater and water treatment, and water mains and laterals. We're looking at the overall break rate, or C factor. So one thing to think about in your infrastructure condition is this criteria is evaluated based on the supporting documentation, a detailed review of the engineer's estimates. Because if you're telling us that the road needs to be totally replaced, then we're going to be looking for those structural elements and the full rebuild in those engineer estimates. The next slide, you can see how many points. Again, maximum of 45 points, excuse me, maximum of 45 points. And the reason I say that we're looking at the engineer's estimates is in previous rounds, we had a threshold to decide if something was imminent failure. And that's not really a cost-based thing. And again, there's sometimes that you need to go in and discover what's really happening. So we're looking at the engineer's estimates, and there is no threshold. Another reason is that each year is evaluated independent of previous years, and the projects are all compared to one another that are submitted in a program year or fiscal year, so that if things are a lot worse coming in, there's a chance that your score might not even be the same as last year's. Again, don't rely on what happened in the previous year. You're starting from scratch in the eyes of the DOPWIC. So health and safety, again, this is over a quarter, 27.5% of your score. So this is a pretty important category. Again, you can see in the upper left-hand corner, you can see the Ohio Revised Code factors that are taken into consideration. And you'll see that you have the radio buttons to self-score. Is it continuous with severe, continuous, intermittent with severe factors, intermittent, documented health and safety problems, and or will the project improve the infrastructure condition but does not reduce or eliminate the health risks and safety risks. So you have to show all of this. And again, we give you a chance to describe the safety deficiencies. Remember, I showed you in the actual supplement, you have a lot more room. It's not just a not just a checklist. But again, if you're going to check crashes, provide the crash rate per million vehicle miles traveled. Do that for the segment and not necessarily the intersections. If you have questions about that, you can ask for further detail. This section gives you a little bit more room in the narrative in these boxes to tell us what you really want us to pull out of the narrative, out of your supporting documentation. You should use those boxes to tell us where to look in the supporting documentation to see exactly what you want us to see. So lane closures, level of service, load ratings, operating conditions, surface conditions, et cetera, et cetera. Supporting documentation for roads and bridges. So hold on. So for roads and bridges, the DOPWIC requires crash data from this transportation information management system. It's also where you got your pavement condition rating. And so what you can do in there, the crash data search, is put together a GIS crash analysis for the DOPWIC to consider, and this will cover your whole segment. This is from Lee Boulevard, Euclid to Brewster. It identifies how many car crashes, the conditions, the severity, the types, and all of this information. This is really helpful. Again, health and safety. If you are going to be citing fatalities, that's pretty much the worst thing that we can have. Please provide the traffic crash report. And again, this is also on the TIMS, or you might be able to get it from your local safety services. Just so you do know, if you're not familiar with the TIMS and how to use it, ODOT does have a local technical assistance program, and they offer webinars in both TIMS and GCAT regularly. So check their schedule and definitely contact us if you need help figuring things out. But they are the experts. And then finally, describe the safety deficiencies and provide information that the health and safety issue will be reduced by the proposed project. So again, if it's the nature of the curve or sight lines, but all you're doing is repaving a road, you're not really fixing those safety deficiencies. So you need to show us this. Again, this is a 55-point category. If you're asking for $1 million, this write-up should be $1 million write-up. This box is not the time for the elevator talk. We want the details. Another thing that you can do is, again, point out, see section 6 or attachment 6 and show us where all of your supporting documentation is. It's so important to really back up your work. What I will say is, kind of take off the engineer hat or the grant writer hat and chat with your law department and say, have I made my case? Because that's really what you need to do. So, and again, it's very similar with the sewer, septic, wastewater, and water. However, there's different health and safety deficiencies. So again, you have more than a checklist. You have room to write your findings, orders, and mandates, citing deficiencies or violations. And again, we know from Monday that we have a lot of water problems in the county. The health and safety deficiencies, we are going to get some technical assistance from the Cleveland Department of Water, from the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, and from the Cuyahoga County Board of Health. And so, especially for water line improvement projects, we consult with the Cleveland Water Department and use their suburban water main renewal project health and safety information to help us evaluate that as well. And so we will ask you to fill this out, even if you are not a Cleveland Water Department under their program. They'll review that for us, with us, and with the declaration that you are not part of their program and that they cannot verify that. So, but it's still very helpful. Again, if you have any questions on any of this stuff, we are here to help you through the application process. And again, here's another write-up of the safety deficiencies, how the improvements will change it, and again, where to find their verifying or supporting documentation to prove their point. So again, I cannot stress this point enough. This is 55 points, over a quarter of the points in your application. And again, this is all based on your primary infrastructure. So the ongoing documented health and safety problems with multiple critical factors, or the nature of the problem warrants additional consideration. The project will greatly reduce or eliminate the health and safety risks. That's what we're looking for. So again, insufficient documentation is really going to hurt your scores in this. So I encourage you to really be thorough in finding that verification for us. The local match, this is going to get a lot easier. You've already determined this on the first page. You can see again in the upper left corner the Ohio Revised Code factors that it meets. Points are determined by the percentage of the total estimated cost for the following ORC criteria. Again, we're looking at the one number, your total local resources. This includes your other project funding that might be the ODOT project or Cuyahoga County cost share, as well as your ability and effort to finance. And you will need all the all of the local match certified by your CFO. Please make sure that the certification matches the numbers that you put in. Otherwise, we will need to rectify that. In order of your self-scoring, use section 1.0 of the OPWC application for financial assistance. Use the sum of lines A through H in section 1.2 divided by line G, and then times 20. So the loan incentive, again, there's a 10% loan mandate, and we also have that revolving loan program. So we are eager to award these great loans, and points are awarded to applicants that request a loan as a percentage of the total estimated cost. One thing that we do ask, and there's no points associated with this, but if the DOPWIC awards all the grant money and has loan money remaining, the DOPWIC will offer a loan in the amount of the requested, that was requested as a grant. This is a great opportunity to get funding if you're not successful in the grants. So let us know. And again, we do have several examples of that. And most recently in fiscal year 2021, round 34, that there was a couple applications that we skipped because they write, no, the applicant is not interested in a loan. And this applicant community did get a fully funded project in the form of a loan. So again, if you're self-scoring, section 1.0 of the OPWC application for financial assistance, that's the budget page, I believe it's on page 2, and the sum of line K, or just line K in section 1.2 divided by line G in section 1.1 times 10. So access to funds. To ensure an equitable distribution of the funds, applicants that have not received assistance in recent program years or fiscal years will receive points. All bridge projects are exempt from access to funds, and please check the last time your subdivision received funding. If you are not sure, there is a lookup table in the applicant manual starting on page 26. And one thing I see here, that should be changed to fiscal year, not program year, but again, we're moving into compliance and consistency with OPWC language. So we did change it in the table to fiscal year 2015 or before gets 4 points. Fiscal year 2016 to 2017 gets 3 points. Fiscal year 2018 to 2019 gets 2 points, and fiscal year 2020 and 2021 get 0 points. And all bridge projects will receive 4 points. So community and economic development, I want to catch up my notes, is next. And you're going to indicate whether this is a community development project or an economic development project. So it's going to be one or the other. This is again in compliance with ORC factors listed above, and points will be awarded in only one category based on the information provided by the applicant. So again, the community development project is redeveloping unutilized or underutilized parcels into a community asset, whereas economic development is restoring the unutilized or underutilized or vacant parcel into an economic development asset, such as commercial, office, industrial, or manufacturing centers. So again, these are radio buttons. This is all under development. So if you click, infrastructure project is located along a commercial district, and then click down here, it will erase the one above. So you will only be able to fill out one or the other. So the maximum is 3 points. And again, it's either 3 points for community development or 3 points for economic development. So regional collaboration. Are you working with another community? This criteria is based on the local share contributions by other subdivisions in District 1. So again, if you're working with a municipality in another district, then you have to apply to both districts. So that's another application issue all in itself. So again, but if you're working with another subdivision in District 1, list the municipality and the percentage of the project. Points will be based on the information provided under multi-jurisdictional projects in the application supplement, and this is under the project description. But in order to receive the points, applicants must provide the required cooperative agreements indicating a subdivision's financial participation. We have had applications come across the evaluation table that were multi-jurisdictional, but one municipality was just being very generous, or they just forgot to add the their financial participation letter, but we need to see that. So again, it's just 2 points. It's a yes or no question. Again, here's, I think, perhaps a sample. I'm assuming that this center line might be a municipal boundary. Work with your neighbor, repave the whole road, not just one half. And you'll get 2 points for that.
Allison?
Yes.
There is a question in the chat.
Okay.
How does the county engineer get points in the access to funds category every year?
Oh, the county engineer access to funds. Oh, that's a good question. It's written clearly in the applicant manual, so let me find that. Because they do have access to funds. I think, did I do that already?
Yeah, it was the last one.
Here it is.
Here we go.
Oh, it's not in there. Okay, I think, well, I know, let me see, access to funds. I know they're
Allison,
based on, okay, so the thing with access to funds is all bridge projects are exempt. Any other project is access to funds. You'll get, County Department of Public Works gets 0, and that's in the lookup table on page 20, you're at the top of page 27. You were funded in fiscal year 2021. If it's a bridge project, no matter who's applying for the bridge project, then you get all 4 points. Does that answer the question, Ernie?
no, it does not. The county engineer sponsors a lot of road projects, and they seem to get points in this category every year.
No, Joe,
No, they don't.
our bridge projects we do because they're exempt, but the roadway projects we don't for access to funds. We don't get any points in that category.
Unless it's a bridge.
Correct.
Okay.
You can show, Allison, I just looked up the manual and that the table, it does show
Okay.
0 points
go.
for this year.
Yep. All right. Share screen. And applicant manual, share. Okay, so here it is. Yep. See, this is Yep, like I said, top of page 27, they'll get 0 points. You know, while I'm in here, I think we're about to go to economic health. Same thing, this is, and I'll come back to this, but again, it's a 25-point category that's based on per capita income and the percentage of households below poverty level. And it is based on the American Community Survey 5-year estimate, 2014 to 2018. And we do have a lookup table, and you can see the total amount of points that you'll be getting, or any of your competitors are getting. So we have that in there as well. And again, this is when we get to, there you go. Let's see, where were we? Here it is, economic health. So Cuyahoga County, they do sponsor a lot of different communities. So the way that economic health works for Cuyahoga County Department of Public Works will be awarded economic health points based on the owner of the asset. The county, even though they fix the roads, the Department of Public Works, they do not own the roads. So that will be based on those municipalities. And a multi-subdivision project score in economic health will be based on the project percentage of the partnering communities as provided in the project description section. Again, this is the same section that we looked at for regional collaboration. So if we have 2 communities here, we listed it, and it's half and half exactly, because that's easy math for me to do on the fly. Then we would just do take the economic health points for both communities, add them up and divide it by 2 and come up with the average for their economic health score. So that's how that works. Again, you can see the breakdown here. And again, there is a lookup table for the applicants on page 26 and 27 of the applicant manual. Coordinated infrastructure projects. Again, the DOPWIC is in support of, fixing as much infrastructure as you can in one project. This meets the Ohio Revised Code factors in section 164.06, not the LTIP. They are not going to be fixing your water. So in order to capitalize on infrastructure investments, the DOPWIC will award points for projects that coordinate road, bridge, and culvert improvements with water, stormwater, and or wastewater infrastructure improvements. So we're just going to go look up at your secondary infrastructure components and see what you checked off. The DOPWIC will award 1 point for each secondary infrastructure component for a maximum of 4 points. So again, if you're fixing everything, kudos to you. That's a massive project, but you'll only be able to accrue 4 points at the max. Now, in order to receive points for this criteria, the secondary infrastructure components must be included in the engineer's estimates. One thing to keep in mind, and this is articulated in the applicant manual, if there is, you're doing a road project and you're required to do under drains as part of that road project, that is part of the road project. That will not be counted as a separate infrastructure project. It is part of it. However, if you are replacing water or sewer line, that will be considered a second. Hasmukh, I see your question. I'm going to get to that after I finish this thought. The other coordinated infrastructure project that might come through is any improvements to a combined storm sewer and septic sewer. will be considered one infrastructure improvement. However, if you are separating them, you will definitely get the coordinated infrastructure points. So if a project is selected as a contingency project, does an applicant receive a written notification from OPWC or DOPWIC for both the preliminary and final rankings? How long do you recommend an applicant wait on an answer regarding contingency funding after the final ranking before moving forward or with the funding other than OPWC? So District 1 does go, and each district does it differently. We allow that period to go until the new round has started. So in September 1st of this year is when the cutoff was. Does that answer your question, Hasmukh? Hopefully. Generation of user fees. This is our last criteria. The proposed project will be reviewed to see if revenue in the form of user fees is generated. It is determined that by the very nature, utility projects and treatment plants do indeed generate user fees for general revenue. Having that revenue coming in is money that can be used for projects. So wastewater treatment plants, water transmission lines, and sanitary sewer lines and interceptors, they will get 0 points, and road, bridge, and culvert will get 5 points for the generation of user fees. This will be determined again by the project type. Not the primary infrastructure, but the highest financial component. Let's see, there's another chat. I don't know, we answered, how does the county engineer, we answered that one, whoops. So generation of user fees, actually, so that is the application process for the DOPWIC funds. In a nutshell, or maybe a fire hose, depending on your familiarity with this program. I want to take a moment to see if there's any questions before we move on. Feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question. If not, Jennifer, this is the small government program. Do you want to take over for a little bit?
Yes, I will. So like we said before, OPWC has a small government program that is part of, it's under the SCIP umbrella of funding. So it gets cut off the top of the SCIP funding. So for the past 5 years, the total SCIP funding for the whole state has been $175 million. And this coming round, the total SCIP allocation for the whole state is $200 million. And the small government has always been 10% of that SCIP funding. So small government used to be 17.5% or $17.5 million dollars per year. And so now the small government has $20 million for the whole year. And again, it is a second chance program for communities, townships and villages with a population of 5,000 or less. And so all those eligible applicants need to apply at the district level to their District 1, get scored with the District 1 methodology. If they do not get funded from the district level, the district will continue on. It used to be we requested 5 applications plus 2 contingencies to be sent to down to Columbus to compete for the small government funding. So that is the one change this year. Our small government administrator we're still going to request 7 applications be sent, but now all 7 will be scored with the small government methodology. There used to be a 1 week intent to apply scenario where those top 5 small government applications from the district level, the small government administrator would email all of those applicants requesting that they reply back with their intent to apply to the small government program. And if someone did not want to apply or did not respond, then one of those contingency projects was brought in with their intent to apply, and then they would be scored. So that intent to apply is going away. That is no longer going to be required. So all 7 applications, so the district is still responsible for ranking all 7 of those applications, and so only the top 5 will receive district priority points, but all 7 will be scored fully with the small government methodology and have a chance of getting funding. So with that, since the small government methodology is different than all the district methodologies, the small government administrator gives each applicant a 30-day cure period to adjust their applications as they see fit to be more competitive with small government methodology. At maximum, I think the maximum grant you can get in small government is $500,000. So if you request more at the district level, you're going to have to adjust that. Or if you want to ask for more loan or less loan or whatever the scenario is, you have that 30-day cure period to adjust to get the best score you can with the small government methodology. So the small government commission will meet in May of next year to approve the slate of projects after the small government administrator scores them all. And those projects will be released with the rest of all the district funding, again, assuming we get appropriation authority from the state legislators. And so since small government is its own separate entity and methodology and applicant manual, I highly encourage all small government eligible applicants to go to our website and go to the small government page and thoroughly read through that applicant manual and thoroughly read through that separate methodology so you know what you need to do to maximize your funding at that level. And if you have any questions about, what's something different you need to include, reach out to Allison or reach out to myself, and we can help you know what you need to include. Because since it is such a competitive program at small government, the small government administrator, when she is scoring everything, she will not let you know that you are missing anything because it is so competitive. So you need to be sure that you have everything included in there. And she gives a very nice, very thorough checklist of everything that you need to include. Next slide.
All right, and here is that checklist.
Yes, there's that checklist.
So, yeah, and we ask all applications from small government subdivisions to submit that because in addition to your DOPWIC score, the DOPWIC evaluation team will go back in and review the small government applications using the small government methodology. And this has been really successful for District 1. This was a change that we started in fiscal year 2019. And previous to that, we would get 0 projects funded, possibly 1. Since that change has been made, the first year, all top 5 projects got funded. The second year, the top 4 out of 5 projects got funded. And this past year, 5 projects got funded. So let's not blow the District 1 ride. Let's get all 7 funded next year. But in order for the DOPWIC to determine which eligible applications will be the most competitive for small government, we do this. There are 2 things that we will not score is ability and effort. Again, that's based on your finances. The small government program is a little bit different and the grants are capped off at $500,000, I believe. So each applicant is allowed to readjust that cure period. If the cure period takes place during the DOPWIC evaluation, you will not have a chance to re-cure that application after. So we give you that last minute, knowing that municipal finances can change and votes on taxes, et cetera. So again, we will not score that. And we will not score the district priority. That's what the Small Government Commission points get added in. And we will not know the district priority until the very last moment of approval of those projects by the DOPWIC committee itself. So remember, there is a team of engineers and liaison recommending the funding and doing the initial evaluation, and then all of this information is forwarded to the committee level. So, and again, this is not indicative necessarily of your score that you're going to get from the Small Government Commission, but it is indicative of how competitive your application will be. So, and like Jen said, instead of sending 5 primary and 2 contingency, we're just going to send 7. Only the top 5 projects will be receiving district priority points. And again, like Jen said, go onto their website, read through that thoroughly, and that will be your guide. One thing that is new for you this year is the ability and effort supplemental form. This form must be completed and submitted for all water and wastewater applications. So again, this is based on water usage and water rates. And this new form, it gives a more fair look at the affordability of the project. Jen, is there anything else you want to add about this new form?
Yes, so that you provide all of your water and wastewater usage and rates, and then they compare that to, they get data, household income data from the US Census Bureau, and compare that to your data and state of Ohio data. And if I sound confused about it, it's complicated even when I try to read through it and explain it to you. But yes, if you have questions, reach out and I'll get a clear answer of what you need to provide if you are confused about it.
We both will, because the more we can help you figure this out this year, the better we can explain it next year. So, but this is certainly new. So the DOPWIC staff review, this is the whole project selection process I'm going to go through now. The applications are due on November 5th, 2020 by 4:30 p.m. A couple important things to point out. Again, you're submitting these electronically by Dropbox. There will be a timestamp on that. So we will be looking at that. So don't start uploading your materials at 4:28 p.m. It may take some time. So please keep that in mind. It's like if you were driving downtown, you want to account for potential traffic, baseball games, etc. So definitely keep that in mind. The other thing is Jen and I and the DOPWIC committee, we're committed to helping you create the best application that you can. So if you want us to review anything, give us a call. Actually, email is the best way during a pandemic to reach me, but not on November 4th. I cannot give a thorough review and feedback on November 4th for your application. So, but keep that in mind. The DOPWIC staff review, it includes a review of all application materials submitted and site visits, and points are, the preliminary points are assigned and the projects are ranked. The preliminary project ranking, and I'll review the schedule as well. We're working a month later this year. So the preliminary project ranking will be published on the county planning website on January 15th of 2021. And once you see that, the appeal process will start. Appeals, applicants are allowed to appeal. The appeal process is an email, letter, and what you have to do is describe the criteria that you feel was unfairly evaluated, and why it was unfairly evaluated, and show how you deserve the points. One thing to keep in mind, this is all based on your original application. You cannot submit any new new materials. There's a deadline question. I'm going to get to that after I go through this. So appeals due on January 29th. The DOPWIC staff will review the appeals and revise the project scores if needed. If you miss this deadline, there's no secondary or tertiary appeal process. This is it. This is the only time. Also, if you feel that you were scored unfairly but can't identify the criteria, then there's really nothing for us to evaluate and review. So make sure that you know what you're appealing, and show that you have the materials needed to prove your scores. So after that appeal process, the DOPWIC staff recommendations on the appeals, the revised scores, and the project rankings are forwarded to the DOPWIC. Again, these are just recommendations. The DOPWIC is the committee that is going to determine the outcome of the appeals. There will be a final project ranking meeting. They will determine the recommendations for the SCIP, LTIP, the loans and contingency list, the DOPWIC meeting to approve the project rankings and the appeals. If you appealed and you're not happy with the results of the initial review, come to that meeting Tuesday, February 23rd, 2021, and discuss it with the committee directly. After this meeting is completed, the DOPWIC staff will submit the District 1 recommendations to OPWC. Again, the same thing with the small government ranking. The DOPWIC Small Government Subcommittee, excuse me, meets on February 23rd, 2021. They will review the small government rankings, any small government appeals, and determine the small government projects. The top 7 primary projects, or the top 7 projects, will be submitted to the Small Government Committee, OPWC Small Government Committee. Now, let's go back to this chat. Any thought on giving an extension to the November 5th deadline due to COVID and its effect on our ability to get supporting documentation from other entities? So the problem is that there is still a deadline, and this material was submitted, material was made available last week on September 1st. You have 60 days that is required by law, and that is more than enough time. Again, if there's an entity affected by COVID, perhaps we can reach out depending on the entity and figure this out, or brainstorm ways to get it with you, but we cannot change that date. November 5th, starting our evaluations on November 5th does create the evaluating over the holidays, so maybe less time, perhaps field visits in potentially snowy weather or bad weather, which might not be good. So we're really on a tight timeline, and we will not be giving an extension to that November 5th deadline.
Back to me.
Jen, OPWC,
Yes.
emergency.
Yes, so I briefly talked about our emergency program earlier. So again, emergency funds come from our SCIP funding, our SCIP umbrella of funding. It used to be only 2% taken off of the top of the SCIP funding. So it used to only be $3.5 million. And now it has increased to 6% coming off the top of the SCIP funding. So starting next July, we will have $12 million a year for our emergency program. And our emergency funds are set aside for an immediate threat to health and safety, but it has to be caused by a natural disaster. It has to be something not foreseen. It can't be due to delayed maintenance. It has to be the typical thing we see are giant rain events like we just had, and road slips. Those are the typical emergency projects that we fund. Unfortunately for this year, we did receive $3.5 million in July for this fiscal year, but unfortunately that has been depleted as of now. So all of the rain that we will continue to get until next July, unfortunately OPWC does not have any more emergency funds to help with those projects. So we are excited for next year when that emergency pot of money will be greatly increased, and we hope to stretch that throughout the entire fiscal year. But for knowledge sake, when you do have an emergency project, we have an emergency pre-app. It's just a one-page form of describe what happened, how much is it going to cost, submit that with an engineer's estimate directly to me, and then I will work with our director who has the final say on approving or not approving all emergency pre-apps. Yes, so unfortunately for now, we do not have any further emergency funds, but next year we will be ready to help.
Oops. There's
Oh yes, and so here are some examples. So yes, we don't want to see potholes be submitted as an emergency program. You know, we want, it has to be affecting the roadway to be accepted and approved as an emergency project. So after you are approved for funding at the district level, those project applications will be sent down to me, and I will review them all and get your project agreement ready to be released on July 1st. Again, I'm going to mention again, this is all with the caveat that we have the appropriation authority from the state legislators to release all of our project agreements. And starting just this year in round 34, we are no longer going to be mailing out hard copies of our project agreements. Since we have been teleworking since March, every year we always upload all of project agreements to our website, and so this year we just decided to not mail hard copies anymore. We just sent out an email when project agreements were available, and all applicants had to go to our website to download their project agreement and get it signed by the project CEO, and then email that back to me. I really only need that signature page. I don't need the full document. So you can email that signature page to me and you're good to go with your project. If you have a loan component included in that PDF of your project agreement will be your promissory note and notification of disbursement method. Those also need to be signed where indicated and emailed back to me or our loan officer, Abby. If you send them to me, I'll make sure she gets them. So not a problem. Next slide. So if there's any changes to your project agreement, we understand you're going to be submitting these applications in November and the agreement will not go out until July. So a lot of times project officials change. We understand that. And so since it happens so often across the whole state, we do not reprint project agreements in cases like this. You just need to cross out the old name, write in the new name, and email me who the new project official is, and then I will put it in our system, and so we have it, so I know who's the authorized person that's going to be signing the disbursement requests later on. And if you have any slight project schedule changes later on, if something unforeseen happens and you need a slight extension, just email that to me and we can work that out. So we used to have a request to proceed form, and then it got changed to a vendor approval form. We no longer require either of those. Once you sign that project agreement and get that signature page to me, you are clear to start with your project. The only thing you need to check on our website is if you want OPWC to pay your contractor directly, you can use that link to go to our check vendor status webpage to verify that your contractor is in the state of Ohio Oaks supplier portal. So if your contractor is on that list, they are in the supplier portal, and there should be no delays in OPWC making payment to them. So you don't even need to tell me who your contractor is or confirm with me that they are on that website or on that webpage. That's just something internally you need to be aware of and do. So yeah, as long as you give me your signature page, you are good to go, and I won't hear from you again until you send me a disbursement request. On the next slide. So once you get your project going and you're ready for OPWC to disperse funds, we have our 3-page disbursement request form, which is included in your project agreement. We have blank Excel versions of this document on our website. You can fill in with your project specific information, and it's easy fillable in Excel. If you want OPWC to pay the contractor directly, you submit the 3-page disbursement form. The first page, you list all the invoice numbers. The second page is where you get the 3 signatures from your project officials. And then the third page is where you tell me who OPWC is paying and how much. And then you'll include all of the invoices from your engineering, construction, all the eligible invoices total that you have included on the first page of the disbursement. If you want OPWC to reimburse you, you need to pay those invoices first. And when you submit the disbursement request, you'll submit the disbursement, the invoices, and that proof of payment, a copy of a check or your accounts payable, something to prove that this invoice has been paid, and OPWC can reimburse you for that. After you submit a disbursement request form, we do have a check payment status webpage on our website. The link is there. It's under the financial tab if you just go straight to our homepage. So you can direct your contractors there if they're getting anxious about when they will receive their payment. They can go to that web page and search their name or search the project ID, and they can see when that payment was entered into our state pay system, and then typically 3 days later, we will post when that payment has been issued. Yes.
All right, again, and this speaks to the schedule. The application materials were posted on September 1st, and the application submittal deadline is Thursday, November 5th by 4:30 p.m. Preliminary project rankings will be released on Friday, January 15th. Project appeals due Friday, January 29th. DOPWIC meeting to select projects is on Tuesday, February 23rd, as is the small government subcommittee meeting directly following that. The OPWC deadline to submit the district slate is Wednesday, March 31st. We have a very little wiggle room here for this program year. And that is even an extension on the part of OPWC. And the fiscal year 2022 awards will be released by Ohio Public Works Commission. But keep in mind that if it has been appropriated by the Ohio State Legislature, we all learned that you can be recommended for funding, but it doesn't necessarily mean the funding's going to be there for you when the time comes. So always just follow that OPWC website. We do say that dates are subject to change. And Hasmukh, you had a very good point. We are in the middle of a pandemic, and who knows what's going to happen moving forward when the weather changes, etc. So, but we will do our best and hopefully stick to this schedule. But we will be in touch with you if for any reason things need to change. So. Q&A, just speed up a bit, you got this. I'm gonna take this out of the slide program for the Q&A, but before I do, our contacts information is here. I have an asterisk by our emails. We are working mostly remotely. So due to the ongoing public health crisis, email is the best way to do your initial reach out for us at this point in time. So again, we will have this Zoom recording uploaded to our website as well as this slide program. So I'm going to stop share. Feel free to open your mics and ask questions, or still continue to communicate via the chat button. If you have no questions and you're ready to get started, feel free to log off. So, but I'll be on, Jen and I will be on for a few more minutes for questions. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.